Hello everybody, Joel Pelletier back here again with another album review. And today I will be reviewing the new Cordae album, From a Bird's Eye View. This is the second studio album from Maryland rapper YBN, formerly known as YBN, Cordae. And Cordae is, believe it or not, his actual name, which I find as being one of the cooler rap names out there. It's nice someone using their actual name and it being unique enough to incorporate into their music. Cordae was part of the 2019 XXL Freshman, mainly because of his introspective lyrics, very nice flow, and the fact that he was one of the cooler rappers out there. Now, after his debut studio album, The Lost Boy, did numbers and was one of the higher regarded albums of this year. This was quite the anticipated album From a Bird's Eye View, and had a tiny bit, not a huge amount, but had some hype around it. So, did Cordae live up to the expectations that were going up for this album? Well, that would be difficult to explain. You see, Cordae's style is very much like an oldie but a goodie, J. Cole, who's been around for quite around the block with some decent rap albums that do the style of moody and kind of soft lyrical rap with decent beats and more of an old style like late 90s, early 2000s. And now J. Cole has been flamed a lot for staying in the past, and Cordae to an extent does stay in this comfort zone in this album, but I do think that as far as the concept of The Lost Boy isn't as thematically concise as The Lost Boy, I would say that From a Bird's Eye View keeps its theme in a more, shall we say, broader sense. What I mean is this. The theme of this album is Cordae reflecting on the time he spent in Africa, and also one of his best buddies, Shiloh, who is in prison, who actually does the opening freestyle. And the freestyle is pretty good, to be honest, and is quite a good start to the album with the borderline a cappella freestyle. Up next, we get Jean-Michel, which is a great song, has some fantastic piano chords throughout the entire thing, and ends off with some pretty dramatic strings. Very nice start for it, and lyrically goes hard again. The guitar-aided Momma's Hood has actually quite interesting vocal layerings on Cordae's part, and is quite cool and hitting hard. I would say that Momma's Hood is actually one of his better songs, not only from this album, but overall it's actually a very solid Cordae song. Want For Me has one of the catchiest hooks on this entire project, and is also a safe but fun Cordae song at the end of it. C. Carter, aka Chris Carter, is a fantastic cut and arguably the best song on the entire album, which is followed up by Sinister, which not only has a pretty good guest feature from Lil Wayne, but also, again, pretty good lyrically as well. However, the album does come to a kind of skid, unfortunately, near the end. Chronicles, featuring H.E.R. and Lil Durk, isn't his strongest. H.E.R.'s H.E.R.'s feature is fine. It's not bad. Lil Durk also doesn't do a bad job, but it's more of the placement that makes this a bad feature. He and Cordae, for some reason, Cordae sounds a lot like Logic on most days, also from Maryland. Both are almost undistinguishable, and since Cordae has a pretty recognizable voice, that's actually kind of sad. Also, Champagne Glasses, featuring Freddie, Gibbs, and Stevie Wonder, doesn't bring out the best in any of the three artists, especially Freddie Gibbs. He does not drop one of his best here. We do end off with Westlake High, which is actually a pretty good ending to the disc 1, and in disc 2 you got the remix with Eminem. That one's fine. And a couple mentions. Today with Gunna would have been one of my favorites if it hadn't been for Gunna's verse sucking as usual. And Super is a pretty good flex track. I do like this, even though I think lyrically could have been a little bit better. So at the end of this, the production, made by Hit Boy especially, has some pretty good nostalgia feels if you're in for that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of guitars on this, a lot of moody trap beats, not a lot of hi-hat skitters, but that's fine because I like that style more anyway, personally. And I do think Cordae shows that he can still rap lyrically, and his flow is good as well. However, there are slight discrepancies I have with this album. One of them being that Cordae didn't really grow as much as a lyricist. Lyrically, this album isn't as good as The Lost Boy. I hate to say it, but it is kind of true. It's still a good album lyrically, but it's not as good as The Lost Boy, where he came out with bright-eye observations of what he was around him. From a bird's eye view, you would expect, since he's from a bird's eye view to have more of a higher and elevated look on things, when in reality he still feels more like the Lost Boy at the end of the day. Now, a lot of the hate toward this album gets thrown at this. He sounds like a J. Cole ripoff, and all I gotta say is that, I like Cordae better. Don't judge me. And I am feeling a light 7. Strong 6 to a light 7. Solid 6 to a light 7. This is a good album. I like it. It's not as good as The Lost Boy, but it's still quite good, and I would recommend it to you. Up next is the new FKA Twigs mixtape, but until then, I am Joel. Peacing out.